All righty, everybody. Welcome to Talking Real Estate with Champions Real Estate Team here at Berkshire Hathaway Home Services Ambassador Real Estate Company. Thank you for joining us every Wednesday. We try to jump on over the lunch hour, kind of give you a rundown of what's going on in the market, here in the Omaha metro area. So we'll jump straight into it. I guess those joining me today is Russ Williams with Williams Mortgage and Jeff Peterson with Champions Real Estate Team, a team member here. And we'll jump straight into what the market is. There we go. So over the last week, we've had 539 new listings, 539 new listings, 407 of them went under contract. And then we had 600, almost 70 sold houses, which is kind of when I look back at my numbers, is the highest number we've had since April of closed homes. So that's basically the market over the last 60 days or so. When we're kind of looking at that aspect of it, we are seeing more houses come on the market. In this kind of little, stagnant time. I think a lot of people are out going on vacations. Weddings that didn't happen last year are now happening this year. So there's a lot of activities going on, and obviously school starting up, so we're kind of seeing a little bit of a lull in the activity side of it. And I'll kind of show you kind of just a little perspective of, how the market was going in April and May, and what it is doing now. So let me share another screen here for you. So this is today's active numbers. So we have 1,600 and just under 1,700 active listings in the Douglas and Sarpy County area, or in the Omaha MLS area. We have 900 in the Douglas and Sarpy County, the Omaha metro area, 588 existing homes, 320 homes on the new construction side of it, 0.7 months supply of inventory, and about almost a $300,000 average price point. So what I'm getting at, looking back in April, basically about 4 months ago at this time frame, we had less than 300 less homes on the market. So when we kind of jump onto this screen, it'll probably load up here in just a second. We had 1,200 homes active on the Omaha and Lincoln MLS comparative to 1,700 homes. We had 900 homes comparative to the 600 homes that we have here. So what does that mean? That means we essentially have more homes that are on the market, and fewer buyers that are out there now. We're not seeing as many, large multiple offer situations where we're seeing, 10 plus offers on houses. So what does that mean from a buyer and a seller perspective? From a buyer's perspective, now is a great time to get out there and get in the competition, because you're competing against less buyers. And, the home prices, as a seller, you have to be competitive in the marketplace because, buyers are still very knowledgeable what's going on in the marketplace. They know what 300,000 gets them versus what 375 gets them, 395. They know those numbers as they've seen a lot of those houses. And now some of those buyers, they have more choices, so your house from a seller's perspective, has to be, updated, in showing condition. And if not, then it needs to be priced accordingly in that marketplace. So I still feel it's a very strong market, but I think we're getting back to a balanced market where I think in that April, May, March timeframe, we were at an offset where we had tons of buyers and less inventory. I think that's kind of leveling itself out right now with the buyer pool. Talking to agents, I had a mastermind meeting yesterday with 15 of the top agents in the Berkshire Hathaway office, and talking to them and just kind of getting what their feel the market is. That's what we try to do, is learn and keep a pulse on the market here, and obviously report back to you guys, the buyers and sellers out there that are looking to do something. With school starting, the consensus was, well, should we list something now or should we wait till after school is rocking and rolling and people kind of get in more of a routine? If you're going to list a house now, it's got to be in great shape, carpets cleaned, all that kind of fun stuff. In that regards, to get that top dollar, or we price it accordingly, like I said, where I think, buyer activity is still going to remain strong, but it may pick up a little bit after that Labor Day weekend. Once kind of getting school routines, sporting routines, activity routines, in that manner of it. Prices, I think, are still going to be going up. Like I said, it's a strong market. I think right now, some of sellers right now are not necessarily, if they're pricing it at $400,000 and we're pricing it correctly, we may not get up to that 415, 425, which we were getting back in March, April, and May, with some of those crazy, it's just unbalanced, when it kind of came down to it. So talking to the other agents in the mastermind group, there are some sellers that are disappointed that they're getting their listing price, or they're getting just a little bit above their listing price, but it's still a very strong market. Because if you would have sold that home, a year ago, at 400, you may only got 375, 380 for it. So you're still coming out ahead of what you would have last year. So it is just kind of, setting those expectations and exactly knowing what's going on in the market. Here at Champions Real Estate Team, with full-time agents, writing offers and listing houses constantly, we're able to keep a pulse on the market, talk to other agents, and report back to you, and keep our agents and our clients abreast of what's going on in the marketplace, and positioning you and giving you that information. Does it make sense to list now? I went on a listing appointment last week, and that was, hey, when do we want to put the house on the market? Should we rush and get it on in the next couple of weeks, or should we wait a little bit? Well, ultimately, when you get into that fall market time frame, you got a little less time, because if you put it on in September, if it's on the market, October timeframe, then if you get a contract anytime in October, you're closing in November typically, unless it's a cash sale, so you're cutting into the holiday timeframes. Now you're coming into people want to move in the holidays, all that kind of timeframe. So it is, if you're thinking about, getting the house on the market, get with us as soon as possible, so we can kind of get a game plan together, because you don't want to be late to the party. I think some of those people that are putting their house on the market now across the entire market may have been a little bit late to the party, because they talked to their neighbors, and their neighbors got $30,000 above their list price back in March and May and April timeframe. That may not happen now. So you have to be mindful of what's going on and positioning yourself, in the marketplace to maximize those dollars. And from a buyer's perspective, those people that were frustrated in that early spring timeframe, now is the time to keep maybe get back in the saddle and see what's out there, because now you have more to choose from, which is a good supply and demand, that we're back to that kind of more of a slightly balanced, the months of inventory still tell us it's a seller's market, but the numbers are indicating as they're going up, and we're seeing, more vacations and more people going, the College World Series and all that kind of fun stuff, and school coming back into town, coming back up. So, but yeah, so I guess let's jump in with Russ. Kind of beat that horse a little bit, but anyway, see, touch base with what's going on in the mortgage industry. So Russ Williams with Williams Mortgage, how things going?
Interest rates right now have moved back down to the lowest rates that we've seen since February 18th of this year. And that's primarily being driven by the Federal Reserve Bank pumping tremendous amounts of money into mortgage bonds to keep interest rates low. Of course, the Fed is still hanging on their belief that the inflation that we're seeing, that normally would push interest rates significantly higher, that is transitory, and that much of that will go away. Although some of the Fed governors are starting to rumble a little bit that they think some of that inflation may be sticky and will continue to stick around even after the worst of the pandemic is over. So interest rates are still really good. Speaking of buying mortgage bonds, Mark, I noticed an article this week on CNN that Wall Street is now getting heavily involved in buying individual homes. So in the future, we may see your landlord be somebody on Wall Street, which again points to the strength of housing and the belief that housing is going to remain strong for the foreseeable future. So much so that investors, big institutional investors, are now buying individual homes and collecting on that rent, which is, of course, rising at record rates.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about it in multiple, videos before this. If you go back and you go on our Facebook page, or even on my YouTube page, and watch some of those videos, we talk about the numbers and the statistics of the birth years and the birth rates, and the number of houses being built, across the country. Back in 2008, 2007, in the financial crisis, I don't foresee us having something like that, where I think our financial institutions are a little bit more stabilized and a little more regular, a little more hoops to jump through to get a mortgage now, which is good, and positioning us in that regard. So, but Jeff, I guess, how things going? Are you seeing anything out on the ground? And
Yeah, I mean, just a lot of what you talked about. The market has obviously changed a little bit and coming back down, which ultimately is a good thing. I don't know that I want the April. I mean, sellers, yeah, they love that, but from all aspects of real estate, I'm kind of happy for it. From that perspective, I think it's a healthier market for everyone involved in a real estate transaction right now. Yeah, that means some sellers may not be getting what they were, but it means some buyers out there can take advantage of this opportunity and really have a chance to get a home. When we went through that market, if you weren't perfectly situated to be able to buy a house, it was tough to buy a house. And I think we're getting into a market where more buyers should start coming back out. If you've been waiting, buyers, it's time to start looking again. I think you're positioned now to be able to get some of your offers accepted that maybe you couldn't back a few months ago. So that's one of the main things. Russ, not to put you on the spot, but I had a client today ask me the question, and so maybe just cover that quick. Should I refinance my house if we're looking to sell in the next year? I have a high interest rate right now, and I should have refinanced a long time ago. I didn't, but I am looking to potentially move. What should I do?
You're on mute, Russ.
It's a great question. Well, a lot of lenders would say yes, it makes sense to refinance, and it really depends. Certainly, if you're planning on selling the home in the next year or paying the loan off in the next year, you don't want to incur more in additional refinance closing costs than what the difference in interest would be if you refinance. So you want to visit with your lender, and we'd be happy to help you at Williams Mortgage on whether or not a no cost or no borrower paid closing cost loan is available, which essentially means if the market rate is 2.75%, it could be that your rate might be a little bit above that, but still lower than where you're at now, and the lender could pay those costs for you. There's no such thing as a no closing cost loan, but certainly the lender can pay that cost for you. And in that case, Mark, it does definitely make sense as long as you're comfortable going through the process of having to gather some paperwork.
Awesome. Yeah. I kind of figured that was something in line with what you're going to say, but it was good to hear from you. But no, it's just a question I had today from a client. So.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think that's kind of wrap on what we kind of talked about today. Try to keep it short and sweet for those watching. Appreciate you if you comment on YouTube or comment on Facebook. We'll reach back out to you if you have topics you want us to cover. Happy to cover anything real estate related in that aspect of it. So my number is 402-672-7670. Jeff's is 960-6823, and Russ is
290-8936. I'm not sure where it went there.
Oh, you there, Russ? Yeah, there you go. Lost in space. So anyways, appreciate everybody watching, and take care, and we'll see you guys next week, and have a great weekend.